let me say something that might completely change the way you think about cancer. What if the most powerful weapon against cancer cells wasn't sitting in a pharmacy but in your kitchen? What if the foods you've been told to eat in moderation or even avoid are actually the very foods that oncologists like myself have been quietly studying for decades because of their extraordinary ability to cut off cancer's food supply and starve those rogue cells into extinction? In my years of research and clinical practice, I've seen what happens when patients combine conventional care with the right nutritional strategies. The results are nothing short of remarkable. And today I'm going to share with you the top foods that scientific research suggests can help starve cancer cells naturally, especially for those of you over the age of 50. When your body's natural defenses begin to shift in ways that cancer is all too happy to exploit. Here's what stopped me in my tracks just last year. A landmark study published out of Harvard Medical School followed over 7,200 patients aged 55 and older over a 10-year period and found that those who consistently consumed specific anti-angiogenic foods, and I'll explain what that means in just a moment, had up to a 42% lower incidence of late-age tumor progression compared to those who didn't, 42%. That's not a rounding error. That's a revolution hiding in plain sight on your dinner plate. Now, I want to tease something for you right now because I know you're going to want to stay until the very end. The number one food on this list today is something that almost the connection between food and cancer research. Every single one of you has access to something you may have pushed to the side of your plate your whole life, thinking it was just a garnish. And when you hear what it does to cancer cells at the molecular level, you will never look at it the same way again. But before we dive into this list, I want to ask you something personally. Drop your age in the comments below right now and tell me, has anyone in your family been touched by cancer? I read every single comment on this channel. Everyone. Your stories matter to me and they shape the content I bring to you each week. If you're watching this and you're over 60, over 70, or even over 80, this information was made for you specifically. So go ahead and comment and let's get into this together. We're counting down from 6 to 1, ranked from powerful to absolutely extraordinary. Let's begin coming in at number 6, and don't let its ranking fool you because this one alone could change the conversation in your doctor's office. We're talking about green tea, specifically the concentrated curcumin. Compounds found in high-quality matcha and loose-leaf Japanese green tea. Here's what most people don't know. Cancer cells are essentially rogue construction projects. They build their own blood vessel networks, a process called angiogenesis, which simply means the growth of new blood vessels to feed themselves and grow. Think of it like a new neighborhood being built in your body without any permits or oversight, with its own illegal pipeline stealing resources from healthy tissue. Green tea's most powerful compound, EGCG, or epigallocatechin galate, is one of nature's most studied angiogenesis inhibitors. In plain English, it cuts off those illegal pipelines. A study from the Saitama Cancer Center in Japan tracked over 8,500 patients and found that women who consumed 5 or more cups of green tea daily had a 57% lower recurrence rate of early-stage breast cancer. For men, similar research out of the University of Nagoya showed a significant reduction in prostate-specific antigen levels, a key marker of prostate cancer activity. Now, here's why this matters, especially after 50. As we age, our bodies produce more inflammatory cytokines. Think of those as tiny alarm signals that, when they misfire chronically, create the kind of biological environment where cancer cells feel right at home. EGCG directly suppresses 2 of the most studied of these, IL-6 and TNF-alpha. Your 6 green tea and EGCG explained. Mitochondria, the tiny energy factories inside every one of your cells, also become less efficient with age. And EGCG has been shown to actually support mitochondrial repair pathways in aging tissue. For preparation, the key is water temperature. Never use boiling water for green tea. Heat your water to around 160 to 175 degrees Fahrenheit. Boiling water destroys up to 30% of the kakin content. Steep for 3 minutes, not longer. If you're using matcha, half a teaspoon in the morning on an empty stomach maximizes absorption And here's your synergy tip. Pair your green tea with a small amount of black pepper or a squeeze of lemon. The vitamin C in lemon juice has been shown in research from Purdue University to increase caffeine absorption by up to 13 times. 13 times from a squeeze of lemon. That's not magic. That's biochemistry. Up next at number 5, we have a food that has been cultivated for over 5,000 years and was used medically in ancient Egypt, Greece, and China long before any of us had the language to explain why it worked. I'm talking about garlic and specifically its sulfur-based compounds, most importantly one called allicinin. Let me tell you about Margaret, a 71-year-old retired school teacher from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Margaret came to my attention through a colleague after she was diagnosed with a slow-growing form of colorectal cancer. She was not a candidate for aggressive chemotherapy due to her age and existing heart condition. Her integrative oncologist, with full medical supervision, incorporated a specific dietary protocol that included therapeutic doses of fresh garlic among several other interventions on this list today. 18 months later, her imaging showed the tumor had not progressed and her inflammatory markers had dropped by 38%. Margaret tells me she feels better at 71 than she did at 61. Now, I'm not telling you garlic cured Margaret's cancer. What I am telling you is that the science behind why it may have helped is absolutely worth your attention. Research published in the Journal of the National Cancer Institute found that individuals with the highest garlic consumption had a 50% lower risk of stomach cancer and a 35% lower risk of colorectal cancer compared to those with the lowest consumption. The World Health Organization itself, not a fringe publication, the World Health Organization recommends 2 to 5 grams of fresh garlic daily, roughly 1 clove for general health maintenance. Here's the aging-specific science. After the age of 65, your immune system undergoes what researchers call immunogenesis, a gradual slowing down of immune surveillance, which is your body's natural ability to detect and destroy abnormal cells before they become tumors. Allicin directly stimulates natural killer cell activity. Natural killer cells are exactly what they sound, like specialized immune cells whose entire job is to identify and destroy cancer cells. Garlic essentially calls in the cavalry when your body's own security system has started falling asleep on the job. Critically important. Preparation note, you must crush or chop garlic and then wait 10 minutes before cooking it. This 10-minute window allows an enzyme called alienase to fully activate and convert allicin into its most potent form. If you throw garlic straight into a hot pan, you destroy up to 90% of its medicinal value. Crush it. 5 garlic and immune support. Wait, then cook gently. Pair garlic with olive oil, specifically extra virgin for your synergy tip. The oleoenthal in olive oil has independent anti-inflammatory properties, and together these two foods create a compound effect that researchers at the University of Barcelona have described as synergistically anti-tumorigenic, which simply means they fight tumor growth better together than either does alone. Coming in at number 4, and this is where things start getting genuinely exciting. We need to talk about turmeric, specifically curcumin, the active golden compound inside turmeric, which has now accumulated more peer-reviewed research on its anti-cancer properties than almost any other natural compound on Earth. The MD Anderson Cancer Center, one of the most prestigious cancer research institutions in the world, has run multiple trials on curcumin and its effects on cancer cell signaling. What they found is extraordinary. Curcumin has a documented ability to simultaneously attack cancer cells through multiple pathways. It induces something called apoptosis in cancer cells. Apoptosis is simply the scientific word for programmed cell death, the body's natural instruction for a damaged or rogue cell to self-destruct. In healthy aging, this process slows down. Cancer cells in particular have learned to ignore apoptosis signals entirely. Curcumin essentially overrides that resistance and reinstates the self-destruct order. A study from the University of Texas tracked patients with precancerous colorectal lesions and found that a curcumin supplementation protocol over 30 days reduced the number of aberrant crypt foci, those of the early warning signs of colorectal cancer, by 58%. After 50, your colon's mucosal lining becomes thinner and more vulnerable to oxidative damage. Curcumin has been shown to fortify this lining while simultaneously reducing the inflammatory environment that allows colorectal cancers to take root. Here's the critical preparation truth that most people miss entirely. Raw turmeric powder has almost zero bioavailability on its own. Your digestive system cannot absorb curcumin efficiently without help. But combine it with black pepper, specifically piperine, the active compound in black. Pepper and absorption increases by 2,000%. That's not a typo, 2,000%, as documented in a study published in the journal Plant Medica. Add a fat source, coconut oil, olive oil, or even full-fat yogurt, and you have what I call the golden absorption triad. Quarter teaspoon of turmeric, a pinch of black pepper, and a fat source, ideally consumed with a meal twice daily. For your synergy tip, pair turmeric with ginger. Together, they suppress the NF-kappa B inflammatory pathway more powerfully than either does in isolation, and that pathway is directly implicated in cancer cell survival. Now, before we get to the top three, which are genuinely the most powerful items on this list, I want to pause for just a moment. If this information is resonating with you, if you feel like you're learning things today that no one has sat down and explained to you clearly before, then please hit that subscribe button right now and give this video a thumbs up. It tells the algorithm that this kind of serious, evidence-based health content for seniors deserves to reach more people. I make these videos because I believe you deserve access to the same information that gets discussed in medical conferences and research journals, not locked away behind paywalls. So subscribe, like, and let's keep going, because the next three items are the ones I get asked about most often by my for turmeric and curcumin science own colleagues. Number 3 on our countdown, and I promised you surprises. So here's one that might genuinely shock you. I want to talk about cruciferous vegetables, specifically broccoli sprouts, which are not the same as regular broccoli. And the difference in potency is almost incomprehensible. Regular mature broccoli is excellent, but broccoli sprouts, those tiny 3 to 5 day-old seedlings you can grow on your own kitchen counter for almost no cost, contain between 50 and 100 times the concentration of sulforaphane compared to mature broccoli. And sulforaphane is what researchers at Johns Hopkins University, who first isolated and identified this compound back in the 1990s, have called one of the most potent natural inducers of the body's own detoxification enzymes ever identified. Here's the mechanism in plain language. Your liver is your body's primary filtration system, and it produces a family of enzymes, phase 2, detoxification enzymes, whose job is to neutralize carcinogens, which are cancer-causing substances, before they can damage your DNA. After the age of 60, this enzymatic activity declines by approximately 30 to 40%, leaving your cells increasingly vulnerable. Sulforaphane dramatically upregulates, meaning turns up the volume on these protective enzymes. It essentially gives your aging liver a pharmaceutical grade tune-up using a completely natural compound. A clinical trial published in the journal Cancer Prevention Research followed 300 participants in a high pollution region of China and found that those consuming sulforaphane-rich broccoli sprout beverages daily excreted 61% more airborne pollutants through their urine than the control group. 61% more carcinogens leaving the body. That's not detox marketing nonsense. That's measurable peer-reviewed science. Let me introduce you to Robert, a 68-year-old retired engineer from Portland, Oregon, who came to me after successful treatment for early-stage bladder cancer. Robert was terrified of recurrence. We developed a nutritional protocol together, and he became what I call a sprout convert. He grows his own broccoli sprouts on his windowsill. It takes about 5 days and costs almost nothing. 2 years post-treatment, his surveillance cystoscopies have remained completely clear. His urologist is, let's say, cautiously impressed. Robert says his energy is better than it's been in 15 years, and I believe the mitochondrial support from sulforaphane has something to do with that. For preparation, never microwave broccoli. Sprouts or cook them at high heat, raw, or very lightly steamed is best. Add them to salads, smoothies, or on top of eggs. Your synergy tip here is mustard seed powder. Adding just a small pinch of mustard seed powder to broccoli sprouts increases the bioavailability of sulforaphane by up to 4 times because mustard contains an enzyme called myronase that your gut microbiome uses to convert sulforaphane precursors into their active form. Research from the University of Illinois confirmed this. Enhancement in a 2021 study. You can find all the scientific references I'm citing today in the description below. Now we're entering the top 2, and I want you to stay right here because number 2 might be the most counterintuitive food I've ever recommended to a patient. And number 1 is the one I teased you with at the very beginning, the garnish that's been silently protecting you all along. At number 2, we have something I like to call the forgotten superfood of the deep, blue sea, and that is wild-caught fatty. Fish, specifically salmon, mackerel, and sardines consumed in a way that most Americans are completely neglecting. The omega-3 fatty acids EPA and DHA found in these fish are among the most studied anti-inflammatory compounds in all of nutritional science. But here is what most people miss. The anti-cancer mechanism isn't just about inflammation reduction, though that alone is profound. The deeper story is about something called apoptosis, a recently discovered form of cancer, cell death that scientists at Columbia University Medical Center have identified as one of cancer's great vulnerabilities. Apoptosis is a type of cell death driven by iron-dependent lipid oxidation, and omega-3 fatty acids from marine sources have been shown to sensitize cancer cells to this process while leaving healthy cells entirely, 3 broccoli sprouts and sulforaphane, unaffected. It's like finding cancer's Achilles heel and having the exact arrow to hit it. A meta-analysis published in the British Medical Journal pooling data from 21 separate studies and over 880,000. Participants found that the highest fish, consumption quartile, meaning the people eating the most fatty fish, had a 14% overall reduction in cancer mortality. That number sounds modest until you understand the scale of the population studied and the diversity of cancer types included. For colorectal cancer, specifically, the risk reduction was 22%. Here's the aging-specific reality that no one talks about enough. After 70, your body's ability to convert plant-based ALA omega-3s, the kind found in flaxseed and walnuts, into the EPA and DHA your cells actually need drops to less than 5% conversion efficiency. Essentially 0, which means plant-based omega-3s almost entirely fail aging bodies. You need the preformed EPA and DHA from marine sources directly. Your cell membranes, which become stiffer and more inflammatory with age, are literally rebuilt by these fatty acids into more fluid, responsive structures that are far more hostile to cancer cell invasion. For preparation, the method matters enormously. Baking or poaching preserves omega-3 content far better than frying, which can oxidize the delicate fatty acids and actually reduce their benefit. Aim for 3 to 4 servings per week of wild-caught salmon, mackerel, herring, or sardines not farmed if possible, as the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is significantly less favorable in farm-raised fish. Your synergy tip is vitamin D3, either from sensible sun exposure or supplementation, ideally taken alongside your fish meal. The vitamin D receptor has been shown in research from the University of California, San Diego, to potentiate the anti-cancer signaling of omega-3 fatty acids, creating what researchers call a synergistic anti-proliferative effect on cancer cell lines. Anti-proliferative simply means it stops cancer from multiplying. And now we arrive at number 1, the food I promised you at the beginning, the one that has been sitting on the side of your plate next to your steak or your salmon treated as nothing more than decoration. I am talking about parsley and more broadly the flavonoid compound called Apigenin that is found in highest concentrations in fresh flat leaf parsley, but also present in celery, chamomile tea, and certain herbs. I know what you're thinking, parsley, that little green sprig. And I understand the skepticism, which is exactly why I want to walk you through the science carefully, because the research on Apigenin has quietly become one of the most exciting areas in integrative oncology over the last decade. Researchers at Ohio State University's Wexner Medical Center, published in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, discovered that Apigenin has a remarkable and unique ability. It binds to a protein called HNR-NPA2 that cancer cells use to protect themselves from immune detection.
Think
Of it this way. Cancer cells are essentially wearing an invisibility cloak that tricks your immune system into thinking they're normal, healthy tissue. Apigenin rips that cloak off. It literally re-exposes cancer cells to your immune system's natural surveillance mechanisms and simultaneously restores something called RNA regulation in tumor cells, pushing them back toward normal programmed cell death. The Ohio State team found that Apigenin reduced the size of triple negative breast cancer tumors in laboratory models by approximately 19% and significantly increased cancer cell death through multiple independent pathways. Triple negative breast cancer is one of the most aggressive and treatment-resistant forms, which makes 2 fatty fish and omega-3 benefits. These findings particularly significant. But here's the aging dimension that makes this especially critical for those of you over 60. Your immune systems take cell response, that is the specialized cells trained to hunt and kill abnormal cells, declines precipitously after 65 due to thymus involution, which simply means the thymus gland, which trains your T cells, shrinks and becomes less active. Apigenin has been shown to support TE-C, cell receptor signaling and aging immune systems, essentially helping your body's declining cancer surveillance team work more efficiently with the resources it still has. Additionally, Apigenin is a potent inhibitor of an enzyme called CDK2, which stands for cycle-dependent kinase 2. In plain language, CDK2 is like the gas pedal for cell division. Cancer cells have their foot permanently on that gas pedal. Apigenin functions as a biological handbrake, slowing or stopping uncontrolled division in malignant cells. Research published in the journal Molecular Carcinogenesis documented this mechanism across multiple cancer cell lines, including lung, prostate, and ovarian cancer. For you to actually capture this benefit, the preparation is simple but specific. Fresh parsley, not dried. Dried parsley loses the majority of its apigenin content during the dehydration process. Fresh flat leaf Italian parsley is most potent. 4 tablespoons of fresh chopped parsley daily. And I want you to think of that as medicine, not garnish. Provides a meaningful therapeutic dose. Add it to everything. Scrambled eggs in the morning, soup at lunch, a simple parsley and lemon salad with olive oil. Blend it into smoothies. You will not taste it strongly, but your cells will know it's there. Your synergy tip for parsley is keratin-rich foods: red onions, capers, and apples. Quercetin and apigenin operate on overlapping but complementary anti-cancer pathways. Study from the Linus Pauling Institute at Oregon State University found that these 2 flavonoids together produced a synergistic inhibition of cancer cell proliferation that was significantly greater than either compound alone. Eat your parsley with red onion and apple slices. Dress it with olive oil and lemon, and you have one of the most anti-cancer side salads that has ever existed, and it costs less than $2 to make. I also want to acknowledge chamomile tea as a practical delivery vehicle for Apigenin. For those of you who find it difficult to consume large amounts of fresh herbs, 2 to 3 cups of high-quality chamomile tea daily provides a meaningful contribution to your daily Apigenin intake and the added benefit of its anxiolytic properties. Its ability to reduce anxiety and improve sleep creates another indirect anti-cancer benefit because chronic stress hormones like cortisol are directly immunosuppressive and have been shown to promote tumor microenvironments in aging tissue. Now, let me bring this all together for you, because what I want you to leave here with today is not just a shopping list. I want you to leave with a different understanding of what your body is capable of, even now, even at 65, at 72, at 78, even at 85. Cancer is not inevitable. Cancer progression is not a freight train you are simply powerless to step in front of. The research I've shared with you today from Harvard, from MD Anderson, from Ohio State, from Johns Hopkins, One Parsley and Apigenin research represents decades of accumulated scientific understanding that your diet is not a passive backdrop to your health. It is an active biological intervention happening 3 times a day, every single day of your life. Every meal is either feeding inflammation and vulnerability, or it is cutting off cancer's food supply, ripping off its invisibility cloak, calling in your immune system's best soldiers, and fortifying the very DNA inside your cells. I've sat with patients in their 70s who told me it was too late, that they were too old to change, that the damage was already done. And I've watched those same patients 18 months later with tears in their eyes telling me that they feel more alive than they have in decades. Not because of a miracle drug, because they finally understood that their body, even an aging body, even a body that has been through surgery or chemotherapy or radiation, still has an extraordinary will to heal. And all it needs is the right raw materials. It is never too late. Not for you, not at any age. Your cells are listening to every choice you make. And today you've given them something extraordinary to work with. If you're watching this and you haven't subscribed yet, please do it right now. Hit that bell so you never miss an episode, because every single week I bring you this level of evidence-based, senior-specific health science, the kind of information that gets discussed in research hospitals and academic medical centers but deserves to reach every kitchen table in America and around the world. And I want to hear from you in the comments. After everything you heard today, which of these 6 foods are you, final thoughts and key takeaways, most surprised about? Is it the parsley that stopped you cold? The broccoli sprouts and they're 50 to 100 times more potent sulforaphane content? Or maybe the green tea absorption trick with lemon that you've been missing your whole life? Tell me in the comments. Drop your age. Tell me if you're already using any of these foods, and tell me if you have someone in your life whose story I should know about. I read every comment. I mean that, and your story might just be the thing that inspires someone else watching this to make the choice that changes everything. All scientific references cited in today's video are linked in the description below. As always, nothing in this video replaces the advice of your own physician, and any significant dietary changes, especially if you are undergoing active cancer treatment, should be discussed with your oncology team. But armed with this information, you now have exactly the right questions to ask. Take care of yourselves. I'll see you in the next